One. All right. What do VGM crew? It is your boy Darkblade here. As I said a bit ago, during the pre-show, Robert's water broke and now he's in labor with like his daughter Roberla or whoever. So I'm stepping in. We're gonna have a nice little show here, nice little chat. We're gonna be talking about our own PNW history. I got a couple of guests in. Uh, First one's gonna be Penpiko, and then hopefully later on Kev. So Penpiko, you want to come on board? We can go and start talking about your history.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you in your beautiful voice. How are you doing
Oh,
today?
thank you. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Wasn't really expecting to do a show, but
It happens.
yep. So let's just go and jump into it. So how did you find out about this garbage game called Politics and War?
So, one of my friends who's not playing anymore, who's also my neighbor, told me about the game. I think one of his friends used to play. Yeah, he told me about the game. We started together and we played a little bit, but he quit after a while and I
You
continued
un-
playing. Yeah.
so you unfortunately stayed. What a sad
Yeah,
moment.
unfortunately, he got out. I didn't manage to.
Hey, it happens.
Yeah.
And when was that? When did you join? It was like what, mid 2020?
I started in April 2021.
So right before the whole Drew Durnal thing. Okay. So
Was it? Or was Drew Durnal before that?
Drew was like, I think late May when he released that video, and then a bunch of noobs started pouring in.
Of 2020 or 2021?
2020.
Yeah, I started in 21.
Oh, you started in 21. Oh,
Yeah,
my bad,
yeah,
my bad. Also, you came after that. Okay.
yeah, I did.
All right. And then what was your first alliance? Was it the Way, or did you join another alliance before that?
So first, for the tutorial thing, I think there's a step that wants you to join an alliance. If I remember correctly, I joined the Legion as an applicant, but I stayed for like 3 seconds long enough to get my $50,000 or whatever it was for the achievement, and then I left. And then after that, I joined Way, and I've been with Way ever since, except for a small period where I was with the Fear.
Fear. Okay. In the Way. Okay. So what made you join the Way? What stood out to you? Because I mean, as a new player, it's kind of hard to
Uh,
find a alliance you want to join when you have like 100 messages in your DMs telling you to join their alliance.
I don't remember what it was. I could find out the quick interview real quick. It'll take 4 seconds, and I'll tell you what it was.
Of course, the benefits of being Gov.
Well, it was
Yeah.
back in the day. It was old DM interviews with Wei. It wasn't very sophisticated.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so Noble says, "How did you hear about the Wei?" And I said, "I got a message in the game." So yeah, there you go. It was a recruitment
Ah,
message.
okay. I was kind of hoping that like you'd say be like their ads.
Yeah,
That
I
would
mean,
that would have been a huge game changer.
it would have been great, but yeah, sadly, it doesn't look like that was the case.
You know. But mm, so let's see. So currently you are the 2IC and you're kind of over the FA department if I remember.
No, I'm over at econ. Yeah.
Econ. Oh, my bad, my
But
bad.
I've been subbing in for FA for a bit because Noble was busy IRL, but yeah, normally I'm econ.
Oh, okay. And so what brought you into econ?
I don't know. I like numbers and everything, so it was
Hmm,
just a fit, you know?
I understandable. I'm a bit of an econ guy myself, but we're not going to talk about that yet.
Yeah.
So so yeah, just eventually you got climbed up the ladder. You're 2IC. So what was your first war with the Way, or what was your first war as a new player?
My first war was Guns N' Roses
Ooh,
back
that's a good
in
one.
back in May. Yeah, it was great. It was a fun time. I think a C11 or C12. But
But yeah, that tier was an interesting because that's where it's kind of like the deciding factor because like both spears like matched up pretty good until um everyone else started jumping in.
yeah. So we were in Oasis. We were winning in my tier, so I had some stupid up declares looking back, and it was a mess from time to time, but it was fun as a new player. I mean, yeah. was
Oh,
a
yeah,
fun war.
oh, definitely. Um, and you were like, you said you were saying 10 to 11. Okay. Um, and y'all pieced out. Yeah, that was a white piece, right? Everyone white pieced out of that war. I'm trying to remember.
I think it was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was a white piece, but I mean, it was pretty obvious that it was a Oasis, Rose, and Mystery Inc. defeat, even though it was a white piece at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Militarily, we lost, I think. Don't remember quite well. I wasn't really in Milcom Gov.
I believe it was a huge. I think it was a huge military upset because like the
Yeah,
odds were
yeah,
stacked against them, and then they somehow won.
yeah, because
Technically, not
Hollywood
officially.
had a lot less people when Oasis and Mystery Inc. jumped in.
Yeah, yeah. The memes though. The whole Oasis thing.
Yeah.
Gosh. uh. hmm. So then after that, your next war was
Next war after that was the uh, Global War 20 back in December. Mystery Oasis versus
um
Clock and Blackwater.
Mystery Oasis. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your thoughts about that whole war and how that came to be?
Well, I mean, it's no secret that the treaty in and of itself. I mean, Volini can tell you, he's in the audience. Tyrion could probably tell you that it was a blunder to sign the treaty, but at the time it seemed like a reasonable move. I guess, well, we fought the war. Maybe we didn't perform as well as we could have, but the odds were stacked against us as soon as the DOWs went through.
Mhm.
So it was no secret that we'd lose that war. I mean, yeah, I don't
It
know what
is.
else to say.
It's understandable. But I mean, the good part is, you got outshined in that area. So people
Yeah,
automatically forget that it's like, okay, so here you got Rose and Hollywood signing each other now. Very
yeah.
hypocritical, you know. Um, so yeah. So how did you end up becoming 2IC? You know, as a newer player, that's not something that's not something you would normally see. Usually when you have like 2ICs or more like in the 2018, 2019 date range.
Well, I don't
So,
know. I just kept on doing gov work, and at some point I got promoted. Yeah,
hmm,
it's
okay,
not a
okay.
super story. I mean, I just did work, and at some point they thought it was worth it to promote me. I think I made 2IC back in October or November 2021 or something. Yeah, so still quite young, but I mean, with two leaders above me and another 2IC, it wasn't like I had all the power.
Yeah, that is just joking, I'm just joking. Um is there any you know any like funny moments that happened in your experience that you would like to share with everyone?
Uh, Not particularly.
Ah, okay.
I don't, at least I don't recall. Yeah.
Understandable. And out of your whole experience, you know, what was your favorite alliance to work with?
Work with
You
as
know,
in like allies or
yeah, like allies. I like to pick
uh
people's sense, see like what alliance they loved working with the most.
shit, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, there's people I liked in alliances, and I don't think I would have a favorite alliance necessarily.
Okay,
I think
okay.
maybe the fear was probably in terms of fighting, it was probably my favorite alliance because everyone there knew what to do, and I mean, it just went super smoothly. And well, with High Dude when he was in Oblivion, and we fought like alongside them with the fear. So yeah, in terms of Milcom, that'd probably be it. I mean, I got some friends in other alliances that I've worked with that are also great people. Yeah, I don't think there's a clear favorite.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Um, Now where do you see yourself in the future? When it comes to PNW, do you see yourself eventually finding your way out of this game, or do you plan on you know just sticking around for the next 4 to 6 years? Or what are your plans?
I don't know. I'm taking it one day at a time. Maybe at some point I'll be liberated from this. So we'll see.
Hopefully, hopefully everyone will
Yeah,
eventually be liberated from this game.
I'm praying.
Okay. And then, is there anything anything else you want to say? Because I can't really think of any more questions. I didn't really have much time to prepare for this.
Yeah,
That's the best part. But
I mean, not really. I didn't have much time either to prepare
it's
anything,
pretty
so yeah,
standard.
I don't think I have anything special to mention.
Gotcha. Well, I want to thank you, Penpiko, for coming on like 30 minutes before the show started and doing this impromptu session, as I like to call it.
Yeah, no problem, bro.
No problem. All right, have a good one. You can go back
You
to the
too.
audience now with the rest of the peasants.
See ya.
All right. So that was Penpiko. Give some claps to him. Woo! You know. Uh, let's see. Kind of rushed as I wanted to be longer, but I wasn't really prepared. But um, oh, Kev, you want to go ahead and get on? We can interview you as well.
Up to you.
Yeah, we can interview you as well. I'll save myself for last. So,
That's for
Mister exactly. So, Mister Kev Macklin, what brought you into this game, and how did you find P&W? I guess that's
Yeah.
a
So I used to play a game called Cyber Nations, and before that, I played a game called Nation States. So I've been playing these kinds of nation sims for longer than some PNW players have been alive. I'm guessing. So I believe I started playing Nation States in like 2003, and I'm not going to go over the complete history of that. But as far as PNW goes, I stopped playing Cyber Nations back around 2010. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I came back to PNW. I had a vacation at work, and I just popped into the Cyber Nations forums to see what some old alliance mates were doing, and I saw that they formed an alliance in PNW, and I also found this Discord app through there. So this was like late 2018,
oh,
and
wow.
that alliance was Bad Company, or like they were in an alliance called Bad Company. So yeah, I joined Bad Company, made a nation, and started playing PW in late 2018.
Oh, okay, interesting. So not only did you find P&W, but you found Discord as well.
Yes,
In
yep.
this
So
case.
I discovered Discord because I know previously it was IRC was the thing we would use, Internet Relay Chat, uh,
Uh,
and
y'all
that
didn't
was
use Microsoft Messenger?
oh, there was that too. There was that too. And so something that's kind of fun with that though is a lot of people. Um, there's a chunk of folk that play PNW that used to play Cyber Nations that I knew when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? And they're playing this now. Almost you know 10, 15 years later. So it's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of wild.
Well, yeah, these games can be very addicting. Number
Mhm.
go up, dopamine go up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, so started late 2018 and joined old Bad Company.
Yes, sir. And so, yeah,
And
Bad
real quick,
Company.
Zig, you said Nation States didn't start until 2005. Looks like it started November 2002. But go ahead.
Holy cow, that was a long
Mhm.
time ago.
Oh
That
yeah.
was like what, one? um, but yeah, so Bad Company was your first alliance. So, who was in charge of Bad Company on this time? Because that was way before my
Alex.
time.
Yeah, it was Alexio. I think Demon Spawn was 2IC. Um, so this was was this maybe July or August? August, I think, of 2018 is when I joined. And so Alexio, he was my in an alliance that I made back in Cyber Nations. He was the head of defense, or like the head, minister of defense, and then Partisan was the minister of internal affairs, and then we had it was like I know Chance and a bunch of old like syndicate people were in there too. I know, and Tevron. I think he's where he's at now, Gato or something. I don't even know if he plays PNW, but anyway, so that's why I ended up joining Bad Company. Is like Kilo and Alexia was part of an old alliance I was a part of, and so Alexia was leading it. I got to know Charlie Traveler at that point, which we knew each other in Cyber Nations under different names, so that was kind of fun discovering that. And yeah, so I want to say it was Alexio and Demon Spawn were the two leaders.
And you knew them before back in Cyber Nations, correct? Or
I knew of Demon Spawn, like I knew he led Ampersand, Um, that or it was called R&R in Cyber Nations. Uh, so I knew he led that alliance. I knew of him. I didn't know him all that well, but I knew of him, and I did know Alexio, yes, and Kilo and Charlie.
Ah, okay, okay. I didn't know. I was just trying to make sure, like, did he know him? But
Oh yeah.
interesting. So eventually, what was your first war with Bad Company, or your first war
Hmm.
overall?
Yeah, so my first war didn't pop up for a minute because there was Nightfall. I remember when Nightfall happened. Um, was that before or after Ask Alexio? If someone can help me out there. I'm an old man now, so I'm trying to think of my
I
memory's
think
not.
I think according to the wiki, it was after Ask Alexio. I'm
Was
not
that
sure.
at?
I believe it is. It was after.
Okay. So are we sure on that? Here, let's. Yes, I think you are correct. So, but anyway, the first war that was the first like major global. What I do remember though, let's see here, Nightfall. Thank you, Kills Bob. Let's just take a peek at this so I'm not misremembering. Concurrent. So Ask Alexia kind of happened. It looks like right after that. Okay, so Ask Alexio started in November. This one started in October. So with Bad Company, there was the way that they ran the alliance wasn't. There seemed to be a lot of like missteps, in my opinion, at the time. And then talking with Charlie, he kind of felt very similar on it. For at first, we were just kind of BSing around about making an alliance, and then once we saw a bunch of missteps, then we're thinking like, maybe we should dip out on this. And then we were talking to Kilo too because we are all three of us were pretty close. Kilo was kind of on the same page, and so we started talking about making a new alliance. And at the time, Charlie and I had a great job with Kevin Charlie, so that was the radio show we would do every Friday. We eventually passed that off to Thalmor. So Thalmoria used to be what the heck was that called? Factory Fresh Media was the server that we had that we gave to Thalmor. So now it's Thalmoria. Um, but yeah, we used to do that show every Friday. And then we moved over to the Cyber Nations Politics and War server and did the quote official Politics and War show there. But before we got to that point, we started doing a review on our show every Friday on different alliances. And what we would do is we would jump to different alliances, right? And so it was all planned out. We were going to go from one alliance to the next alliance. And these people that we had pre-poached, so to speak, so like Kilo, Hannah, um, Dynamic, who used to be the leader of Rose. We had Rado from TKR. We had Rebel Man, if people remember the Rebel Man. We had all these different people pre-poached, and so they would leave to these different alliances that we knew we were going to go to. So we would spin a wheel on the show. It was just a pre-recording of a spinning of a wheel that we knew what it would land on, and then we'd go to that alliance. We would know that 4 of the people that were going to be making what is now known as Soup Kitchen, or what was then known as Soup Kitchen, would be there. So
Uh-huh.
we'd go there, stay there for a week, give a review, and then leave. And when we left, those 4 people would come with. So we called it the Hobo Express. So we went from one alliance to the next, and eventually it went from just one of us to then 2 of us to then 5 of us to 10 of us. So there was 100,000 nation score going from one alliance to the next alliance eventually, and everyone followed with, and then we would do that review on the show. But the very first stop, so I went to TGH with because we told Bad Company we were making an alliance. They got all butthurt about it. Like we were trying to let them know what was going on. They got upset, and so I ended up going to TGH, and that night at the war, Ask Alexio started like hours after I left, and apparently there was this leak about I don't even remember what the leak was. Um, but there was a member that they had called Cynic, and apparently Cynic leaked some information. I'm blanking on what the heck it was, but IQ ended up hitting Bad Company for this leak,
Hmm.
and that war was called Ask Alexio, and then they tried to pin it. Bad Company tried to pin the leak on me, um, and there's just a bunch of bad blood that came from that. But then they gave like their entire bank to the Cynic guy that was the actual leak, and then the Cynic dude stole their Bad Company's entire bank and then pieced out.
Rip.
and then admitted it on the forums. And then anyway, uh, and so that was the first kind of war I would have been a part of. But and then Nightfall was happening at the same time. So really, my first war was community outreach program. So after we did the Hobo Express and founded Soup Kitchen, during that whole time we were working with Church of Spaceology, who then brought in the Knights Radiant, who then brought in Seven Kingdoms, and we made a block called Chaos Block. So a block which we now know was Ketog at the time. So those Knights, Knights Templar, Imperia, which is known as the Way now, which used to be known as Rosway. And then there was the Golden Horde, Grumpy, and Guardian were in this block that people called Ketog. And then Oblivion was in there too. Or were they? Oblivion might not have been in there. I forget.
No, they were in there. They were.
They were in there. Okay, thank you. So they were like a mini sphere, and then we really wanted to do something different with Soup Kitchen, so that's why we hit up Church of Spaceology to kind of like, because they were paperless, to start our own mini sphere, and then they ended up getting TKR on board, and then we ended up making this Chaos Block. So it was the second mini sphere. And so upon launch, because the whole idea was to kind of do different kind of wars and try this whole mini sphere theory that people had. So we, as Soup Kitchen alone, we ended up hitting World Task Force and FARC. So it was just a 1v2. I mean, both of them were bigger than us. So to combine, they were much bigger than us. So we figured, it'd be a good test because they're typically known as not fighting, not the strongest fighters, but they'd have an advantage numbers wise. So that was the first war I fought, called that Community Outreach Program. And then after that, it was Surf's Up, where Ketog hit Chaos like a week or two after.
And that was when Keycalls was leader of Rose, right?
He was leader of Knights Templar.
Knights Templar, okay.
Correct. So so we got absolutely smacked around in Surf's Up, because I remember Church of Spaceology was really struggling because Ripper stepped down, and Ripper was really holding that alliance together. So COS is the abbreviation for Church of Spaceology. They were really, really struggling. And then Seven Kingdoms was a shell of an alliance. So it was really TKR, Soup, and Chaos. And we got just destroyed by Ketog and Surf's Up. But that war ended up leading into what is now known as Dial Up, or NPO's Last Time. So my first war was Community Outreach Program. My second war was Surf's Up / Dial Up / NPO's Last Time. I know that was a really, really long answer, but I figured I could kind of fill in the blanks there to
definitely.
some of the other questions.
That was interesting to hear, to go from like Hobo Express making hot soup, forming Chaos, and then having your first war be kind of like a small one, and then what's considered one of the biggest wars in the game.
Yeah. So Soup. So I was in Soup it was April 1st of 2019 is when we founded. So I think we had like a total of like 2 weeks of peacetime, until after NPO's Last Time ended, that war ended, total of our existence. And then I remember during the tail end of that war, because I'd been trying to bug Kigas to join for a long time, Soup. And and eventually it was kind of like asking a girl out, right? You just pester them enough. And like, hey, you want to go out on a date? You want to go out on a date? And eventually maybe they'll say yes. So eventually Kigas said yes to joining Soup. And at this time too, we were trying to figure out creative ways of pulling alliances from Coalition B, which was IQ's side, because they were sitting on us all, right? So and they made it clear that they wanted to disband alliances and stuff. And so we're trying to figure out a way long term to be able to beat them, to be able to beat the hegemony of IQ. And so part of that was to make an alliance, because I got along with some of the folks in Coalition B. So I started working with some of the people over there, and we were making an alliance. And so I know it was like Kigaz was in on that, Hodor, but these guys are still from Coalition A. But some of the people from Coalition B, like, I'm trying to think of more prominent ones, but I'm just thinking of people that I doubt you guys would know. But anyway, then they got banned. NPO ended up getting the old boot, right? So then that plan kind of fell apart. But we had all this good group of people to make this alliance, this middle alliance, so to speak, to pull people away, to try and create another like block, more or less, that could pretend to be on Coalition B side, and then swing over to Coalition A, and then to help hit NPO and friends, but since that was no longer needed, and we already had this great group of folks, and Soup at this point was pretty war torn because they had known as war, and people are pretty burnt out.
Yeah.
Charlie stopped playing. A lot of people stopped playing. I mean, I know a lot of communities felt that. Like Golden Horde disbanded, COS took all these different alliances disbanded after that war. But so instead of making it into a separate alliance, we just decided to re-theme Soup Kitchen and call it the Enlightenment. Just because we had these different folks. Didn't really quite know what we would do with it aside from keep going with the mini-sphere thing. And so I know Hodor was really close to like Guardian and Grumpy and Kigas were decently close too. I didn't really know them all that well, but I remember during that time, right after NPO's last time, there was a big grab. People were trying to get Guardian really, really bad, right? So TKR was trying to get Guardian because we had left Chaos Block at that point, right? Soup Kitchen or the Enlightenment at this point left. We gave our notice that we're going to leave because we were making our own block because TKR told us, essentially, we told TKR you could either stick with us or you could stick with Syndicate because they had signed Syndicate during the war.
To form Quack in a sense.
To form Quack. But back then, like when they signed it, it was to try to fight against NPO. But since that threat had passed, it was like, okay, so since that threat has passed, can we keep going with our minisphere idea, TKR? Because we got along really well. And so they said, no, I think we want to stick with Syndicate. And so that went again. And then they had signed Immortals too. And so it was like, well, okay, well, we want to keep going with the minisphere idea. So we ended up signing Grumpy and Guardian. And then in the meantime, too, we really wanted Sketchy. Because Sketchy had left the Golden Horde because it disbanded. He went to North Point. Don't know why, but he went to North Point. And the whole thing was we really wanted Sketchy. And so part of that, and from the rip, like it was like a week later when we approached him, he's like, dude, I already, kind of obligated myself to be at North Point. He's like, if you can find a way to eat North Point, then I'll join. We're like, okay. So that was pretty much the whole goal then at that point is after establishing the block called Hedge Money with Guardian and Grumpy. I mean, we ended up bringing North Point in there too with a goal to eat them to get Sketchy.
And that's how y'all formed Children of the Light?
And that's how Children of the Light was formed, correct. And
okay.
Sketchy did not want to keep the name in the Enlightenment because we had it as like a fake religion cult thing where Alex was the devil. And then anyway, it was just, we were going to write this whole Bible, this like faux Bible thing. And it was, I don't know, we were having fun with it, but Sketchy didn't like it. And we really, really wanted Sketchy, who he was a huge boon for us to be able to grow Children of the Light into a legitimate alliance too, like a heavy hitter. So then Children of the Light formed. So it was Children of the Light, Grumpy, Guardian. Eventually Oblivion ended up coming in, but Era 404 came in before that. So that was, I ended up leading Children of the Light. After leading the Enlightenment, I led Children of the Light, brought in Era 404. Our goal there with Hedge, at least with Children of the Light, is we wanted to hit TCW. I kind of had a little bit of a grudge against Sphinx because I knew how he handled dial-up war, and a lot of people don't. And he tried to play both sides. I like Sphinx just as a dude, but in character, right? Like just it was very slimy in character, right? So he'd try to play both sides. He was actually on Coalition B's side, and then he would try to play it up like, oh, they're really bad. I want to join you guys, but I can't. And then he would say the same thing to the other guys. Oh, I'm playing them and blah, blah, blah. And then he'd tell us, oh, I'm playing them. So he was trying to play both sides. And at the end of the day, when the writing was on the wall, that's when he jumped ship, is when like it kind of became known that there was an investigation. And so to me, there was just some bitterness towards Sphinx. And I don't know if you guys know this, but in dial-up war, part of the reason why people reference it so much with current day wars and peace terms and everything is because during negotiations, what would happen? I remember because I think it was Adrian and me were the two reps from Coalition A, and then Coalition B, it was Sphinx and Under. And so they would come in and say, we want you to say that you are defeated, admit defeat and agree to terms. And we would ask what the terms were. And they would say you would have to agree in order to find out.
Oh,
right?
yeah, where they keep putting one term in front of the other as you agree.
And it didn't even get to that. It didn't even get to that yet. We needed to say yes to it no matter what they, you know what I mean? And so, and of course we couldn't say that because they could say whatever they want, And so And then they said, you have like 10 minutes to decide, or they put a timestamp. And then if we said we can't do that, and then we try to give a counter offer, they said, nope, no counter offers. The next time we'll talk is 1 month from now, or 1 week. I think it started with 1 week from now. So they would immediately leave. They didn't want us to accept peace terms. They wanted the war to keep going on and on and on. So and because they're trying to get people to delete, they're trying to get alliances to be destroyed. And so that's why there's this taboo towards peace terms or whatever, which we do need to break through, I feel like. But
definitely.
Yeah. But getting back to the history of it, I guess so Sphinx was the negotiator with Coalition B, and I know, like, obviously, maybe sure it wasn't his idea, but still he conducted them. So there's a little bit of a grudge there that I wanted to settle. So I really wanted to hit TCW. So my first point of contention is I started to get to know Error 404, and I really liked them. I got along really well with Basebon and Borg and those guys, and they were being protected by Test, if I remember correctly, because Test was made by Boyce at that time, was remade. And I was also trying to pull Test, but Test basically said that they wanted to stick with TCW. And so we dropped relations with Test, and then we ended up pulling Error 404 away from TCW camp.
Yeah.
And then I think I stepped down shortly thereafter. I felt like the ball was moving in the right direction for a while. I had a new job, and I knew things were going to get busy, so I at least wanted to see that through. And and then I stepped down, and then I think they ended
Left behind game leader.
No, Kigaz did.
Oh, Kigaz did. Oh, okay.
Kigaz did, and then Error 404 became a full member after we were protecting them, and then they eventually became a full member, which is awesome. And then we hit TCW, and I forget what that war was called, the whatever day war, 28-day war, or something like that. Does that sound right? I don't remember. Help me out.
Oh, the 10-day war.
Oh, there you go. 10-day war. Thank you. But yeah, and then I stepped down. I was, I help here and there, but things were pretty quiet. I think I found a little bit more time. And so then I remember. So Lefty ended up leaving Children of the Light when it became Children of the Light. And he went to Acadia. He had an invite to help lead that. So, Acadia was on the opposing side of the war. You guys didn't know that. And so kind of a long-term plan was, hey, if things didn't work with Acadia, then he would come back home and the Children of the Light, and we'd eat them. And I remember Kigaz was ready to retire from being the leader. And so he asked if I would be, well, first he asked Sketchy, and Sketchy said no, he didn't have time. And then he asked me, and I didn't want it. And so I floated the Left Behind idea, and he had never been a leader before, but I knew him, and he was, Left Behind was awesome. Known him for a long, long, long time. And so we ended up eating Acadia, and Lefty became leader of Children of the Light through that merge. And then shortly thereafter, I think at the time I didn't have time, and then I found time later on. And Error 404 were doing a bunch of blunders in FA. And so I told them after, I was asked kind of, but I told them I'd go over and help them out. I was asked by some of the people in Hedge to help, so I did. I went over there for, I think, only like a month or two, and then we had some stuff happen IRL, where both Pika and I ended up deleting to take care of some stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
With our intention never coming back to the game. But I think it was like, I don't know, 5 months later or something like that, we ended up coming back. And then I rejoined Error 404.
Oh yeah, because you became their FA head, right?
Yeah, and I did that when I left Children of the Light. I did, like, because I went straight to Error 404, and then deleted like a month or two after. Because I actually got, who'd I get in? I got Istandor who's leading Legion now. So I got him to come in to be their head of IA. He was the head of IA for like, I don't know how much longer he was the head of IA after I deleted. I have no idea, but anyway. But yeah, came back in March, I think April, somewhere around there, and then came back to Era 404. The Era 404 ended up merging into Children of the Light to become Cataclysm. And yeah.
Didn't you make another alliance after the merger?
I did. So Charlie, my buddy Chuck, so him and I are pretty close. We at this point, when I came back, I just wanted to meme and just mess around. And I mean, I wanted to help Air 404, but then afterwards, like I just wanted to meme and mess around, especially once the merge with Air 404 and with Children of the Light. I was hoping to also grab Ampersand once that conversation started to go. And I was hoping that we would rebrand into Soup Kitchen to go full circle. And when I told Charlie about that, Charlie's like, shit, yeah, I'll come back. And so then we're just talking about all these different ideas and funny things that we could do and whatever. And then when that ended up not happening, then we're like, well, let's still do something kind of like to, I don't know, meme and stuff. So then we made an alliance called The Street. And what that was like a Muppets living on the street, like gangster style. And we were gonna join like the derpiest block we could find, and then just I don't know, just shit post basically, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, that ended up not working out exactly how we were hoping because Charlie didn't actually come back.
Rip.
So yeah, I mean, he was on phone calls and Discord. He was there, but he was never log in. And we had a good group. Like it was some pretty cool people there, like Tiger Fire, and there's Vaselli, Pika, obviously. I mean, like some of the old suit people, but a lot of cool people, and Eberwolf. I mean, just a ton of neat folk, right? It was pretty self-run. I mean, it was tiering wise, it was a really solid alliance. It was just without Chuck there, it didn't really, for me, it didn't tickle my fancy to really want to, drive it forward with just the memes and stuff. And so then we ended up folding back into Cataclysm. That was kind of the backup plan anyway. So that was like if this didn't end up working out, and like that was kind of, we could always go back into there. I mean, I was in talks with Cataclysm with making like what is now known as Clock, I guess. So they were trying to pull Eclipse away from Syndicate. I know who else was in those talks. Legion were in those talks for a little bit, kind of. Who else? I'm trying to think. Aurora and Weebionism came later because Cataclysm ended up signing Mystery Inc. or like Ampersand, right?
Yeah, they signed like a protector treaty with Ampersand where they were being protected by them.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so that helped develop that relationship. They really wanted Weebionism. They didn't really want Aurora, but Lefty wanted to roll the dice, and they've grown a lot, so that ended up being a good gamble. But yeah, that was kind of the talk, is that we would help fill that tier in that block if, once I either got bored with the memeing or, if people started just, wanted to do more of the meta crap.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of interesting how it came by full circle. But
yeah. So
sorry,
I mean So I mean, if I'm going too long, let me know here. But
no, you're good. You're good. My next question was, how did you end up becoming known as like the father of the Johnsons? I think that's my most wanted question to be asked.
Okay. All right. So back when it was either when I was leading Children of the Light or I was head of FA for Era 404 the second time, like when I came back. It might have been when I came back. I don't remember when this war was, but Hedge, there was a war between Hedge and
I think that war was during the last ride.
was okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So Delta was this block created by like remnants of Pantheon and some other kind of like derpy alliances that were like large, but not necessarily, had a reputation of not being the strongest, right? Or most knowledgeable when it comes to the game. Um, and so there was a war that happened. I can't remember the full context of it, but essentially Oblivion just wanted to kind of dick around, or rather, no. I'm going to give the role play answer on that. Basically, Oblivion did nothing wrong. They were being picked on, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Delta was trying to pick on the Immortals, and Oblivion was kind of like caught in the crossfire, and so they're just trying to protect their friends in the Immortals, and then also trying to protect their own self interests. And so they had to defend themselves from the evil attacks of Delta. And so there was like a little mini war called the Oblivious War, and the uh, the ending of that, right? So part of the terms was that they would change their name from Delta to the Johnsons for like a couple weeks or whatever, and they agreed. And so the history on that is back in Soup Kitchen, we would get people asking us for protectorates. Even during the war, like people would just come up to us asking for protectorates.
Yeah.
And we didn't really want to, especially with keeping it close with like the chaos block. And I mean, we're really buying into the mini sphere thing, and we didn't want like whatever. Like we wanted to be super super choosy. And so part of that was we would tell them we would sign you if you renamed your alliance to the Johnsons, and had this flag of like this family sporting a bunch of mullets. And then we were gonna have Kilo and Spectre go to whoever our prot would end up being, and they would basically oversee the alliance, almost kind of like a viceroy ish, but like kind of oversee things and make sure things are running well. And then once they graduate, then when they graduate, then they could rename. They would leave the alliance, come back into Soup, and then they would regain their sovereignty, so to speak, and then rename it to whatever they would want to, and that's their graduation. And then we would give them an MTP at that point. So that was kind of our thought process on raising people up and really being intimately, involved in a prot. But it seems like some of the issues you run into with protect or with like micros and stuff is that they think they know what they're doing. And so part of the idea on that is A, it's funny, but B, it's to help them be more humble on it. If they're willing to do that, then we know they're going to be willing to listen. If they're willing to like change their name temporarily for us, in order to work with us, then we know that they're going to listen and they're going to be humble about it and learn some stuff. And so that was kind of the thought process, because when you're dealing with people that maybe don't know as much as what they think they know, and they're really headstrong about it, it's really really hard to get through to them and work with them. So that was kind of the idea. But I've always loved the idea of the Johnsons, and I thought the flag and the idea was always hilarious. So I wanted to impose that or give that gift to Delta, and then the name just kind of stuck. Yeah. Ooh, good call, Lefty. So Pantheon came to us for a prot. This was after their Nova Riata war. Then like Syndicate dropped them. They had no one. And Pantheon asked us for a prot, and we told them that we would prot them if they renamed themselves to the Johnsons. And they, because we talked to Tyrion about it first, and he was the head of their FA, and he was on board. And I love Tyrion for this. So Tyrion was on board, and then Rar was kind of on board for a while, but then she put the kibosh to it. But yeah, that almost happened.
Oh, okay. So, I was surprised that Delta would even accept that term, with them renaming their whole sphere to be the Johnsons.
Honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened to him, in my opinion. Like,
Oh, definitely.
yeah. So I think good for them for owning it too. There's some people that were in that original Delta that's still in the Johnsons, so that's kind of fun. And then that carried on. So even when I was still in Error 404, I would role play as the head of the Johnsons, right? Because we would have these morph radio shows or whatever shows, and every block had a representative, but there'd never be anyone on for the Johnsons. So I just volunteer and then just role play and talk crap about how the Johnsons were super super awesome. And so I'd role play as that. with the street, I was planning on getting the street involved in the Johnsons, but I don't think they had anyone in the same like city tiering as us, which I didn't really care about that much. But there were people in the alliance that did care about that, so we ended up signing a treaty with ASM, who there's some people there that we were buddies with from Chaos, uh, and Rose didn't want us to also sign the Johnsons, so we couldn't make that happen. But after merging that back into Cataclysm, I was just kind of an advisor dude at Cataclysm, and
Yeah.
which was fine, which was good. But then Dark Brotherhood hit me up, and they asked me to um, help lead and manage their FA. And at this point, this was right when Oasis started falling apart and Mystery Inc. was falling apart and all this, with TFP leaving. And I was
Yeah.
heavily role playing being the leader of the Johnsons and even being the leader of TFP at the time. That's when I started to take up that mantle, is I'd post on the forums as if I was the leader of TFP. And then DB hit me up to help lead them, and I saw that they signed a treaty with TFP. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a chance for me to actually lead the Johnsons. And so I had to take it. And so I'm like, all right. And so I went to DB for the funds. And there's some good people there. And I like, if you look at their war performances last two wars, honestly, they've done way better than they've ever done in their history at war. I know it's not saying a whole lot, but if you look at the performance, they're not terrible with war.
Yeah,
So awesome.
if you compare them back to when they were Delta, they made big improvements.
Right. Well, Dark Brotherhood wasn't in Delta before.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of like half of them was like old Delta. It's like Waffle House is like the merge between three of them, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, something like that. There's like Brotherhood Family and something. So I think Waffle House they are an OG Delta member though, kind of. If you trace back their history.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Valeni just pointed this out. So Valeni led their FA TFP, so he was trying to get me to replace him in TFP. This is kind of how it, like when this whole blunder went down. So I was talking to Valeni and to make the Johnsons thing a reality. After they signed a treaty to actually join the Johnsons, which was hilarious. He tried to get me to be the FA lead, the leader there, and they wouldn't bite. TFP wouldn't bite, and so when DB said, "Hey, we want you to do this," I'm like, "Holy smokes, it's destiny!" So that's why I went over there. I ended up hopping over to Waffle House to help them out too, and that's where I'm currently. Well, no, currently I'm at Paradise, but that's where I've been until just very, very recently.
Oh, interesting. Well, is there anything else you like to mention or say, Kev?
Yeah, I guess I'll say this. So Paradise, coming to a theater near you, you need 2 tickets if you want to, go to Paradise. So Lefty and myself talked about making a group. And I mean, there had been a conversation for a little while to get Johnson's more tiering, right? But when I talked to Lefty about making a group and what that would mean and what that would look like, it was awesome. We had the same ideas on what we were looking for. I mean, we obviously know that we work well together, as we've worked together pretty much most of our PNW and Nation Sim life. So we ended up assembling an awesome crew, some really, really cool people coming in. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So look for more from Paradise. So once we actually fully launch, I think there's going to be some surprises, and I think there's going to be some fun things coming along with Paradise.
Interesting. I'll be excited to see how that alliance goes and who's in it.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right.
So,
Well,
yeah. Anyone wants to join Paradise, you need 2 tickets. I'm telling you again, you need 2 tickets, and it's a grueling interview and application process.
only those worthy can make in the Paradise. But thank you, Kev, for coming on and helping me with this impromptu show.
Yeah, man. Would you like me to flip it and interview you?
I mean, you can if you want. It's up to
Or
you.
if you just want to go with it, because I know we're saving the best for last. You're next.
Well, it's up to you, Kev. If you want to interview me, you can. Otherwise, I can go solo.
Yeah, hold on. I'll get Beer Ho in here. Beer Ho. This is Beer Ho interviewing Darkblade. Darkblade, if you could tell us a little bit about how you came across politics and war and in your entire history.
Thank you. So back in, I want to say, what was it? When this video come out? So back in mid-May, a certain video came out on YouTube, and some of you may know what this is, but I'll go and post it in here. This video by Drew Durnall came out and caused what's known as a giant a giant wave of new players coming in. And I was one of those players after seeing the video, but I joined around mid-June, June 28th to be specific. So that's how I got into the game, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, right on. What alliances have you been in?
So when I first started, I joined this micro called Atlas Technologies. That was my first alliance ever. I don't remember what I picked them for. I think it's because of their message. Because a lot of messages were like shoving all these like benefits in your face. So then AT came in, they were like, oh, like we're just a small community guys. We're just we want you to be here because we want you to be here. We're not trying to get you in benefits. And I was like, shoot, they're genuine. So I went and joined them, and that was led by Mad Max and Jordan was their 2IC, which before then they had Mad Max, Jordan, and I can't remember there was like another person who formed Atlas, but yeah, there was like three people that formed, and then Mad Max and Jordan were pretty much kind of on the top of the alliance, so that's how I joined them. I also joined after that. I joined the Enterprise. So with that, after WTF is doing, where KT hit WTF and eventually the whole entirety of Roselot. Um, Eventually I got tired of like how the alliance was handled, some drama, whatever, blah blah blah. Just like the overall performance because we had a couple of mishaps. I decided I wanted to look into joining another alliance, so I hit up Carthago. I hit Krampus from Carthago. I hit up Chocolate's Castle. I want to also say TKR as well. I hit them up as well. And I was talking, I was asking questions. I was telling them I was interested in potentially joining their alliance. Then I looked in Ron, and here comes this guy named Adam. Straight up posted screenshots of like some dude threatening the syndicate. And like he straight up told him like, hey, you do this again, I'll break your neck or whatever. And I was like, that's what I want. So I hit up Vero back when he was still in TS. I was like, look, I want to join TS. I'm really interested in joining TS and what you guys have to offer. So eventually, we talked a bit, and then I eventually applied. We had like my interview was like I want to say like 4 or 5 days, something like that. Which that was fine because I mean, TS is one of those more kind of looking to they're more of those quality over quantity type alliances. So I was fine with that. And then eventually after that, I left AT and joined the Enterprise. Afterwards, I got promoted to the Syndicate after TLR because I guess my performance and they liked me. So I got promoted to the Syndicate. And then after that, Quack disbanded. We had Free Curse with the Blackwater, which was just Cindy Spear. And then after that, Adam stepped down from FA. Wana, got promoted to FA. And eventually, Wana asked me to come on board. Yada, yada, yada. So I joined FA as Logov. I learned a lot, actually. I gotta thank Wana and Magos as well for teaching me some of the stuff I know now. But pretty much I was FA with them for a bit. Eventually I stepped down because turns out I don't like FA. I hate having to do with like debates and stuff like that, and dealing with micro alliances and all their stuff. And plus, I was getting busy because I had actually started college later that year of 2021. So I stepped down, and eventually I was looking to. I was actually getting bored of the game. And I was looking to do something new. So I was thinking about talking to some other alliances and seeing if I can join them up a little bit later during the summer. Eventually, Adam hits me up. He was like, "Hey, I'm making a micro alliance," and I was like, "Don't even, I'll join." So I got on board with that. It was me, Adam, Zerg, MCM, and eventually Ramon. I think Ramon was the last person to join on board as like kind of like the founders. There's like a couple other people too, but kind of like those five as Gov. And eventually, we were gonna form back during the summer when everyone was off, but some stuff happened, and so we ended up forming earlier than expected, which was we formed Garden of Eden. We became a TKR prod, which I was excited, start a new journey with a new alliance that, hey, we have something to make here, a potential new alliance. Um, then we started talking with Divine Phoenix about a potential merge. When eventually after like 10 to 12 days of talking, which we had like 4 to 5 hour sessions almost every day, we agreed to do a merge with them. So eventually, Garden of Eden merged into DP, and the reason for that merge was Garden of Eden had the experience, Gov experience to, kind of like help, kind of like oversee an alliance. DP, but Garden of Eden did not have the members or the membership we would have wanted because we formed a lot earlier, and the DP had a lot of members, but their gov were not as experienced as you would want to have for alliance of their size and member count. So those were kind of like the main two reasons that we merged, and eventually we formed DP. Of course, um, that failed badly. Uh, there was problems on both sides that we didn't really see overall. And with just a lot of us, we didn't have the time to do what we needed to do. Like me personally, I was focused on IRL stuff, mainly finals. So I didn't really do what I thought we could do, and eventually we decided, hey, it's best if we break off and just step down, and then eventually break off because we weren't we weren't doing what we were supposed to do in Gov, and it's better to have like other people take over us because we didn't have the time to put in to help run that alliance to get back in shape. So eventually that happens. Uh, I was in the offshore. I was in DP itself. I was in the offshore. So after that, I just kind of chilled there for a bit, and I didn't really. Oh yeah, at that point I wasn't really gov. I was just chilling the offshore with Jack, who was the second in command of DP at that time. And then eventually I found out, oh well, they're merging into Cataclysm. Like, okay, so after that, I decided to start looking into other potential alliances for when I got out of VM, because I VM'd at that at some point because I was trying to focus on IRL, and I wasn't really expecting DP to kind of like demerge and disband the way it did. So eventually I started looking to other alliances. Let's see. I considered I had considered staying in Cataclysm once they kind of announced it to Gov, but I decided not to. So I decided to either hit up TKR again, because at that point I was really pretty good in with their Gov. Roberts, Morph, Wise out a little bit too. I had considered Grumpy Old Bastards, but I decided not to pick them. They were kind of like the first lines I kind of tossed in there but pulled out because I really think I would mesh in well with them. and then I eventually decided on Guardian. And the reason I picked Guardian was because um was that they showed a lot to me during The Big Short when TS got hit by Hollywood. I was really impressed with like how they handled Milcom and how they ran things. And so I eventually decided to pick them over TKR because TKR, I mean, they use Slack. Slack is not really that good in my opinion. So I hit up Guardian, yada yada yada, and then eventually I became a member there, and that's where I am currently.
It's a good pick, man. Although I still wish I would have messaged you a week
I know.
earlier.
Yeah, I when you messaged me, I kind of considered it because I was like, something new. But at that point, I was just like, I'm done with Gov. I just want to be a member and just relax.
You can
Be
be a
able to
member, baby. 2 tickets to paradise. That's all you need. But anyway, that's
hit me
awesome.
up. Hit me up in
Guardian.
3 years.
All right, Guardian's a good bunch. It's a good group for sure. But yeah, man. Wow, that's pretty cool, dude. It's kind of neat to see the evolution from someone that just joined during that Drew Jernell thing. I don't know if I know anyone else that came over from that, so that's pretty cool.
Nah, there's probably like what 7 other people who did.
Yeah,
Most of us didn't make it through.
yeah. Rip.
Well, I mean, rip to me because I'm still here.
Yeah, seriously, that's what I meant.
But yeah, I mean,
touch grass, buddy.
one day. But yeah, I mean, with every alliance, I learned good things and bad things about each alliance I was previously in. So I think that's why it played a major factor. Like um, with Atlas, I learned that especially after I left Atlas, I learned that Gov was a very very important aspect, and the competence of Gov played a role. Um, with TS, I mean, I learned a whole lot of things. Like they taught me a lot of stuff I know, like Milcom, IA, what's expected of each department, and same thing like how important Gov is. Um, During the Big Short, I learned a lot about defensive wars, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, TS, their Milcom fell off, but in their defense, it was more like IRL stuff got in the way, which happens, but you know, um, and then with DP, I learned that holy cow, I learned a lot of things. Let's just leave it at that.
Do you know where that kind of came from with the DP thing? I'm just curious. Did you know what was happening before you guys went in?
um, with that, they kind of introduced us to their problems slowly over time during like our 10-day like discussion about the merger. And so we thought we were kind of like, okay, so here are their problems. We didn't think it would be too bad. Um, but like once we got to like experience like the alliance and stuff, like once we got full access to the Discord, we were like, holy cow. It's kind of like that saying like don't bite off more than you can chew. I
Hmm.
think that was kind of the thing. Which I'm not saying like um DP, was unfixable. It was just like it needed attention and it needed time, which most of us could not really offer that at that time.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when you guys well, like prior to you guys doing that, there was something on the table for them joining the Johnsons via a merge with some folk.
Yeah,
Uh,
I remember that.
and
I was like,
I told Adam about it, and then lo and behold, a few weeks later, Adam's. I should take a screenshot of how he replied to that. Anyway, no, yeah, but I was pretty excited when you guys went in because that I think it's pretty cool. Like I personally, I came into the Johnsons thinking like LOL, but then also I'm here. I'm going to help while I can, and then over time I've gotten to know people, and I really like them. Like there's a lot of people within TFP I really enjoy, and DB I've gotten to know, and the neat thing is that they're willing to learn, and so I think that's the cool thing, and the fact that DP let you guys in, gave you guys all hike up. To me, I was thinking, oh sweet, these guys are willing to learn too.
Oh
Right,
yeah.
Divine Phoenix, and then these guys can become an actual alliance, top tier, potential top tier alliance with that stud of a government. I remember when we were doing the snake draft thing in this server a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, or before they merged, or before it was actually before any kind of merge. It was like right before Adam left.
Yeah.
I selected Divine Phoenix in my snake draft, and then everyone's like, "Ooh," because
Oh, Crabby
I was,
Alliance.
yeah. Well, no, it was. I think it was like the day that Adam decided to leave or something. I don't know, but it
Yeah, I think it was like the
was
day
bad
before
timing.
Adam decided to
Yeah,
leave and join
right.
Rose.
Yeah, so it was like I think people had heard about that happening. So, but anyway, like yeah, I was really excited for that. I wish that kind of stuff happens more. I know I didn't work out for you guys necessarily in this situation, but I think the idea is the right one, and I think that's how we get more dynamic. So I'm all for mini spheres, and not to whatever, but I feel like my actions have showed that I'm really about mini spheres. I would say maybe an even bigger piece of the pie, or the bigger piece of the puzzle, in order to get to a place where things are more entertaining or more things are happening or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
is for people to take a risk on doing crap, whether it's stupid or not. I know I've trying to think, like I remember talking to Horace Cock about some different ideas, and he's like, I think you need a helmet, I think is what you told me, which I get. But and true, like it could be dumb ideas, but at the same time too, like there's some things that can be put in play that causes a shift on things to happen, that could ha- create fun content for other folks too, as well as yourself. Like that's people have to do something instead of just being stagnant and worrying about like, well, I don't want to misstep. I don't want to make a misstep. I don't want to do this or this because
Yeah, you don't want to be labeled
my
as
pixels
NPO or whatever. Yeah.
or not. And there's that. There's all these different fears, NPO, incompetent, or what, or getting role, or whatever the case may be. You want to try and get yourself at the best place possible. But the thing is like, and I don't agree with, I forget who it was. It might have been Appy. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but I do agree with this. If he said this, is a lot of people play this game as they're planning out like years. Like it's like they're playing it as if it's IRL. Like you're trying to plan out for years what you would do, and it's good. You should hold back before like making a major move. You got to really think about it. But since this is a game and it's you know what I mean. Like this isn't life.
Yeah.
Like people have to be willing to take more risks and do dumb moves from time to time to create content, or be able to take a risk and help other people. So like I think that Divine Phoenix move, that was the correct move. I don't think it panned out, but I think that's the correct line of thinking, because you were about to potentially help 100 plus people learn the game more, had you have had more time or whatever the case may be. I'd
Oh
love
yeah.
to see more of that happen. I think that'd be great to get these people that aren't necessarily involved because they're just live in their own little world, and then they cry about how everyone else are elitists or whatever,
Yeah.
and because they don't want to learn or whatever, but this gives them a chance to learn, and I think that's important for the game not to get stale long term.
Oh, definitely. Like my biggest thing is I would love to see new alliances made for like newer players, but like competent ones, not like your little nano alliances doing their own thing. I think that's what the game needs the most.
Right.
Definitely. I think I think that was the kind of vision that I personally have with DP, but like you said, it didn't really pan out.
Yeah, man. Well, once you get tired of the Hollywood celestial hegemony and you don't want to be a part of that anymore, and if Guardian stays put in that, then 2 tickets, buddy. That's all you need.
Well, I appreciate the offer, but
Well,
yeah.
I'll turn it back to you. It's your show.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, thank you, Kev, for interviewing me, by the way. Uh, is there any questions y'all have about my history or anything like that? I know someone asked if I was gonna be taking questions. Let's see, who said that? I think it was Hillel who said that. Oh well. I mean, if you have any specific questions about my history or whatever, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I do. Who's been your least favorite alliance career to date?
Oh, I gotta pull up the big guns. My least favorite alliance. Hmm. If you would ask me this last year, I probably would have said Atlas. But
Wow.
like over time, oh, I know. I mean, like well, over time, I've learned to.
Appreciate the
I
community there.
Yeah, I learned to appreciate like the hard work built in, and like before like DP, I didn't really understand. Like I didn't really, I thought I did, but I didn't really fully understand like what it takes to not only form an alliance but to form a community, and that's
Mhm.
what and even people didn't think Atlas was that great of an alliance. You got to give credit to Jordan and Max for the dedication they put in to build their community. To start out from an alliance with just three guys leaving
Oh yeah.
their old alliance to form something new to eventually I think they were top 35 before before um things started to go down for them and eventually merge into Rose. You got to give them credit to that, and that's why I put them up a lot higher than I would have about a year ago. But I'll probably say just DP from just how it all went, and then just kind of saw the headaches and eventually what it led to.
Fair enough, man. I didn't even mean the ones that you were in. I meant like
Oh, the ones I was in. Oh, the ones.
no,
Well,
just in general, like
oh,
in general. What's been your least favorite alliance or the one you've disliked the most
the alliance I dislike the most. I mean,
from an outside perspective?
from an spice perspective, I'd probably say. Ooh, pull a treaty for this. Are they even? Are they even still around? Oh, WTF, WTF. Gosh, I've had a big dislike for them since WTF is doing um like the I didn't really I didn't so back they were in Atlas, they signed ASM, they had like the ODOAP. I was not a big fan of them because I believe yeah, they came into Duck Hunt kind of late into the war. Where like the initial blitz like was done a couple of rounds, I believe. I could be wrong, correct me if I am. Um so they kind of came in, they kind of have like, everyone else they kind of have like this pixel hugger mindset. Um where they don't do much. When it came to what Cosmo Kenny said to KT and what eventually led to you know WTF is KT doing, I was so mad at them because the whole Carl situation where they were pretty much like boosting him to make sure he doesn't get hit, and they were like straight up defending him, like when people were calling out for like pixel hugging when his
Mhm.
allies needed him. They're like, oh no, we encourage him to not fight in the war and just stay up all top. Which eventually, Kim eventually got a warrant and got a couple of nukes in on him. And just like the fact that it was like when we needed them, they were like, okay, but like when that war was happening, like we were being asked to join in, and I was like, is there war? We're not direct allies to them, because we're like, we were told like, hey, we're probably going to be involved uh with this war against KT because we're being chained in. And I was like, which eventually led to them being dropped. Thank God. Not to say that um I want WTF to disband, but they weren't really doing much, and uh eventually getting rolled one after another by different alliances. It kind of proved that they weren't doing much and they needed to step up, which I'm guessing they eventually did because they're like signed with Genesis and Polaris now, I believe. But
They are in Haunted Mansion, or at least the peripheral.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah, that's probably like my number one most disliked alliance in my experience.
Right on. Zig asks, aside, who had the best in-character? And I think that's a pretty good question. I would say, as an alliance, I would say Oblivion has been one of my favorites. Uh, but as a person, like a player, um, I really like Raul. I don't know if you guys remember Raul, but I really loved his posts. I thought they're freaking hilarious. And when he would role play, like he did it pretty. It was pretty great. He was like in charge of I think the Horsemen or something like that. Otherwise, Partisans pretty good with his in character stuff. I hate to give him too much love because Lord knows he has a large ego, but trying to think who else. Um, yeah, I would say Aki, like I would I have to say Aki. Aki's probably my favorite or like the Oblivion people. Aki's my favorite in character. And then what was your question? Yasin. Yasin.
Yeah, what's your question? Oh, what was your question about Atlas 2.0? Yasin?
Favorite person. Oh, okay.
Okay. So, my thoughts on Atlas 2.0. At first, I was a bit shocked because when I found out about Atlas 2.0, this was back when I was Logov FA for the Syndicate. They actually I got approached by them to it's potentially sign them as a protectorate. But eventually, after talking, maybe we decided like we wouldn't match that well, culture wise and what we wanted, because I was one of the more democracy kind of thing, um, and we weren't a big fan of that. So eventually, they signed a war, which I think, I think, they had a potential. They could have been something, but um, I'm not gonna really talk into the issues, but they had some issues that need to be addressed, and unfortunately, they weren't really addressed. But it is what it is. I can't really say much because I have a failed major, or well, not major, but a failed mid-sized alliance on my record.
Nice. Real quick, because there's some other ones that we skipped over. Cora, you're saying there shouldn't be a correct way of doing anything to up to a point. The game needs to breathe and be smothered by the correct. They would be smothered by doing things the quote correct way. I agree with that to a large extent. Like I agree, and that's kind of going back to people just wanting to be as safe as possible and just doing it like trying to be, you know, conservative when they make their moves and stuff. Where it takes something new to spark intrigue. So I agree with you on that aspect. I also agree there's other ways to do things for sure. But the thing that drives a lot of folks nuts, and I think the major complaint about micros, the legitimate complaint, is that they're the unwillingness to listen as if they know better on it. Because at the end of the day, there is a right and wrong way, or I should say, maybe there's not a right way, but there's a wrong way to like do war or like perform war in the game or like alliance management as far as maximizing profit or whatever. Like you're not going to get money if all of your members are sitting on gray, and it's probably not the smartest move to leave them in your alliance membership list because you're not getting taxes from them, and they're just a risk to get hit by pirates and stuff. And also, like as far as war mechanics go, like if people aren't listening on how to do things and the strategy to win wars, and they just keep sucking out wars over and over and over, like you know what I mean. So I'd say there's different things on that, but I think the point you're making, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more along the ways or along the lines of like instead of just same old, can create stagnant political views and stagnant ways of doing things, which I agree with wholeheartedly personally. But I guess yeah, and you did say up to a point. Yeah, that's very, very true. And then MCM got a question for us, Darkblade.
Yeah.
So she said, question for both of you: which alliance has been your favorite of the ones you've been in? Oh, this is an easy one. I mean, like I personally, I view Soup Kitchen the same as the Enlightenment, the same as Children of Light, the same as Cataclysm. It's all one alliance. Like it's just the predecessor of Cataclysm was Soup Kitchen. It's all one big alliance in my eyes. It's kind of how I viewed it. It's my oldest born, and so I will say Soup Kitchen. The community within that original group, when we were titled Soup Kitchen, was my favorite community I had been in by far. I mean, there was even people outside of the alliance, I think, enjoyed the community aspect of it, joining the server, etc. It was a whole lot of fun. Everyone stays in contact with each other from that group too. There's a lot of people that went on to lead other alliances and whatever from that group, and went on to do different stuff. And I think that was my favorite personally. That iteration was the Soup Kitchen community. I'm sure Paradox. I'm sure Paradise will eclipse that. But anyway, what about you, Darkblade? What's been your favorite of the ones that you've been in?
Oh, the ones I've been in, I mean, I would have to say the Syndicate. Um, being around players who have been around since 2014, all the experience they went through, just learning about their history, I enjoyed it. They have a great community, with different personalities, some nice, some mean, which I think that's a great thing because everyone has their own way of expressing things, and um, just all the memes we posted and all the chats we have. I mean, it's great. Uh, Leon was probably one of my favorite members to be around. Sorry, MCM. You're probably like second place, but Leon's got my number one spot. But yeah, I would say the Syndicate out of the ones I've been in. That might change with Guardian. The only reason I haven't included Guardian was because I mean, I've only been in there for like what 20 days now, so I haven't had a really chance to say I've been a long time member. Because in fact, I'm their newest member.
Right, right. Uh, yeah, Syndicate definitely has a bunch of characters. Chad, when you said person, what do you mean? Like, who's your favorite person and character person? Or did I miss something? Not sure. Oh, not replying. Well, anyway, mine was Aki, but no, no. Darkblade, who's yours in character?
My
Who's your
favorite
favorite
character?
Mhm.
Shoot, that's a good one. Like favorite person in PNW?
In character person,
Oh,
yeah.
in character person. Who?
That's not like your best friend or like in your friend group, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Hmm. You know what? I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Krampus. Let's go. That's my answer. Krampus. Devil's advocate.
No,
That's
I
my
think
answer.
you misheard the question. It
What?
wasn't who's your least favorite. It
Oh,
was
my
who's
least
your
favorite.
favorite. No, no, it was who's your favorite. I think you misheard.
No, 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 no. I heard that right. That's how I was
Uh,
playing devil's advocate.
uh, might want to might want to check your head. All right. Anyway, let's see. I have this question for both of you. What are your thoughts on the Sphere Wyatt MVP? I mean, I've posted about it a ton. I've talked about it a ton. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. I think it's not the best move. I think it's a pretty poor FA move, all in all. We'll just have to see what kind of um, what do you call it? What kind of yin to the yang? What's the consequences of said move later on down the line? We'll find out, I guess. And Darkblade probably can't really comment because he's
I'll give my take on it. Uh, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. So like with the negatives, of course, Oasis and Mysteries did the same thing, and they got rolled for it. Even if the circumstances are slightly different, with the two different signings, uh, you can see that's kind of hypocritical. You never really want to see something like this, especially with like major spears or like major alliances. I mean, sign each other. and this could also potentially bring in a new meta where spear signings happening for peace, which I don't think this will, but it's politics where you never know what could happen. And overall, I just kind of see this as a bit of a cowardly move, but alliances are going to make decisions that are not particularly popular. As for the benefits, I mean, the whole you know, oh, I can't wait for TS and TKR to duke it out. I mean, that's been publicly like said millions of times that both sides were really looking to fight each other, and just overall, it's just a way to let both sides, demill, focus on just growing. Because I mean, if you're gonna mill up, you better use it, and I don't think either spear had that plan to use their milled up nations.
All right.
Overall, you're gonna as an alliance, you gotta do what's best for your people, and see what's the best option. They could have stayed milled up, which hurt them economically. They could have demilled and run the risk of getting hit by Cataclysm if Cataclysm had planned on hitting either Rose or Hollywood, which I don't know if they did. I'm not in their gov. Or they could have just signed the treaty, in which they decided to take a big FA hit, in order to secure a demo. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, that's yep. I think that's objectively correct. But hey, I have to head off. But if you guys want to keep going, awesome. Thanks for having me on Darkblade. Have a good
Oh yeah, thanks for coming on, Kev. Thanks for saving the show. All right. So, any questions? Because I might just wrap up myself a bit in a bit. One 106. Holy cow. You know what? If no one has any questions like the next like 10 seconds, I'll probably call it here. Yeah, I'm probably just going to end it. Thank you, VGM crew, for coming on and listening to our rambling about the good old days. And, hopefully you learned something about, not only my past, but Penpiko's and Kev's as well. But yeah, that's really it. So thank you guys and have a good one.